Alright, students, let's go through number 19. Mutu has taken 3 shots in a shooting practice. The probability that Mutu strikes the target is P. X represents the number of times Mutu strikes the target. Diagram shows the graph of binomial distribution. X with the binomial variable 3, P of Mutu. So let's observe the graph. Okay, the vertical axis of the graph is probability for the x equal to x. So you are given the probability value, and also let's observe the horizontal axis is actually the number of the shots. Alright, there are 3 shots, so the n is 3, right? Okay, express the probability of striking the target more than one time in terms of G, H. Okay, in terms of G and H. That means your answer must have combination with the G or H or number. Okay, so the question is asking for the probability of striking the target more than one time. So if you observe the graph more than one time, okay, the probability for more than one is not inclusive of the one, isn't it? So it's actually the probability of the 2 and 3, right? So then how to do this? Because the question actually don't want you to give the value of the probability more than one time. Maybe you will write the answer 54/125 plus 64/125, but that is not what asking by the question. They don't want the value. So actually you need to give the answer in terms of G and H. Alright, don't give the answer in terms of the fraction or the value. Okay, so how to answer question like this is we actually need to sum up all the probability value should be equal to 1. So for question like this, the moment you see question like this, in your mind you must tell yourself all the probability value when you add it should be equal to 1. So instead of you write 64/125 plus 54/125 equal to 118, so you can actually say that G plus H plus 118/125, it should be equal to 1, right? So then since the question want the 118/125 in terms of G and H, so 118/125 is equivalent to 1 minus G minus H. So that is what asking by the question. So they want the answer in terms of G and H. Okay, so they actually don't want the answer in terms of the fraction or the value. Alright, make sure you really understand the instruction of the question. Alright, now let's proceed to the question B. Okay, for B, you're asking to find the probability value for the P. So normally when you want to find the P or the Q, we will actually choose, if P will choose the maximum value, so Px equal to 3, so equal to 64/125, right? So we'll choose that value so that when we substitute into the binomial formula, we can get the P easily, right? Okay, so let's write down the formula and then we will substitute into the formula before we can solve the values of P. So Px equal to 3, we have the answer for the probability value already, right? Which is 64/125. So you can write down the formula, which is NCR PR then Qn minus R, right? So the Px equal to 3 will be 3C3, then P power 3, and then Q n minus 3, right? Okay, understand? So now you try to plug into the formula. Alright, so I'm waiting for your answer. Now let's substitute into the formula. So it's 3C3, P3, and then Q3 minus 3 will be 0, right? So next time if they ask you to find the P or Q, you can always use the maximum value of the X, alright, so that you will get Q0, and then the Q0 is 1, so you can solve the P easily. So P3 is 640125, right? So if you cube root the 640125, you will get the answer, which is 4 over 5. Alright, so if they ask you to find the Q, you can always use the Px equal to 0, alright, the lowest X value, okay, so that this P will be 0, okay. So that's how you solve the binomial distribution. For the paper 1 question, normally they like to give you a graph question. Then from the graph, they will ask you to find the value for the probability, or maybe they can ask you to find the small p or small q, or they can ask you to find the n, right? Okay, so nowadays they always like to ask reverse way. They give you the graph, and then from the graph you have to solve. Alright, for normal distribution, they will give you the bell shape. So I try to find the bell shape question to discuss, okay, one day when I got time to do the video. So now let's proceed to the next question. Alright, so we have revised the binomial distribution graph for paper 1. Now we will see the other question. So for this video, I will discuss the last part of the paper 1 for Penang paper. Maybe I will choose the good quality question only to discuss, because it's quite time consuming to discuss all the question, right? Okay, now let's proceed to the next question. Let's see, this question is about locus, right? So given the point, you're given point P, which is 1, 3, and then you also given point Q, which is 2, 5, and then point A is actually moving. So when it is a moving point, we will put the unknown x, y, because we are not sure where the point will move to. It is keep on moving, all right? And then because the ratio was given, so you have to read out the ratio carefully, okay? So the distance of point A to the point Q is three times of the distance, okay, from P. That means it's actually A to P, okay? When they say distance from point P, it means that A to P. So that's how you work out the ratio. You can draw out, then you draw A to P, and then A to Q, and then you label the ratio on the line. So A to P is 1, and then A to Q is 3. Make sure you are very sure about the ratio, then only you do. Alright, okay, so we are going to do locus. So for locus, normally we will use a distance formula, okay? Unless we will see the perpendicular distance, and we will use a gradient. But normally we will use a distance formula. So we will use the we will copy down the distance formula, so you can find the distance for A to P, and then distance from A to Q. Alright, so A to P is actually you take the x, right, minus, right? Okay, now we do the AQ first. AQ is x minus 2 square plus y minus 5 square, right? And then you have to square root. Make sure you square root, okay? And then 3 times of the AP. So we'll take x minus 1 square plus y minus 3 square. Okay, always double check the distance formula is always plus. Okay, in between the two square is plus. Okay, don't change the formula. So after that, you have to squaring both sides. Alright, after you squaring both sides, then you have to simplify carefully. So in short, for you to do locus, you must get the ratio right first. Okay, always draw out and then figure out the right ratio before you do. Okay, and then when you do expansion, do fast and accurate. Okay, so you need to practice. So when you practice a lot, you tend to have less mistake, and you can go very fast. Okay, so this is about locus. Now you try to squaring both sides and try to simplify. So when you square the right hand side, you have a 3, right? So the 3 you must square. Okay, so make sure you square for the 3. And the 3 square become 9, and 9 have to times with everything inside the square root. Okay, after you square, no more square root, but the 9 is belongs to every terms, okay, in the square root. So I hope you understand what I mean. So you try to expand carefully and you try to simplify. All right, so I'm waiting for you, okay, to give me the answer. Okay, so while you are doing, I will just wait for a moment before I show you the working here. Okay, so after you do, double check again and again so that you won't have careless mistake. All right, okay, so have you got the answer ready, or you still doing? Okay, so I think I can show you the answer right now. This is the answer that I get. Let me show you now. Okay, question number 21. You are given A, 2H, 3H, and B, you have 2M, and then N plus 1. And then you have point C, which is M and N, are 3 points on a straight line. So point C divides the line AB internally in the ratio 1 to 3. Okay, express the M in terms of N. So this is a ratio theorem. So normally when we do ratio theorem, we will label the point on a horizontal line like this. You don't make it a slanting line, it make you confused. You can always draw a horizontal line like this. Easy for you to do cross multiplication later on. Okay, so my point A is 2H and 3H I label. And then point B is actually 2M and M plus 1. And then I actually label the ratio clearly on the line. Okay, you see how I cross. Okay, so that is how you do. Actually, we don't refer to the formula, we just cross. So it's actually for the X, for the point C is M, right? So M is equal to 1 times 2M, okay, plus the 3 times with the 2H. Then over the total ratio 1 plus 3. Okay, that is how you cross. Draw the arrow to show that you multiply the ratio from left to right and then from right to left. And then you must over the total ratio. This is so-called ratio theorem. So after you cross multiply for the x, solve the x, you can solve for the y, which is actually just change the coordinates, okay, for the x to y. Okay, you understand what I mean? I mean the ratio, how you cross, still the same. It's just that you just change your x now to everything to y. Alright? Okay, so you try and then you see whether you can get the answer. And you have to express your answer. Finally, according to them is M in terms of N. So maybe you have to substitute or solve the simultaneous equation to get the M in terms of N. Okay, so let's try on your own first before you refer to my answer. You cross multiply carefully, you will get 2M equal to 6H and then M equal to 3H. And then you have to substitute the M into the other equation, right? From the y coordinate, you will get the, actually you got the other equation, so you can substitute into that equation. So you will get the answer finally. This one is about the vector, which is collinear vector. So it's very popular question in SPM exam for collinear. So actually there are 3 methods to solve the collinear. Okay, one is, I think you express in terms of the ratio, not equal. It's actually in terms of ratio equal to a constant. Alright, so but many students always just equal the 2 vector, which is actually totally wrong. So you must equal to a constant with the other vector, or the other way is use a gradient form. Okay, I think use a gradient form is easier compared to use express in a constant. So now actually I encourage you to use a gradient to solve the collinear, because if collinear means all the points are lies on a straight line, that means they are having the same gradient, right? So we always stick to the same gradient. Okay, so now You can use the ratio method, which is PQ equal to MQR. Okay, all right. So I will prefer to use a gradient equal to both line, which is actually I find the gradient of PQ and then I find the gradient of QR. All right. So for vector, when you see vector, you can always convert the vector to the point. Example, they give you OP, right? RH, so you can write as P coordinate RH, and then Q they give you 2 6, right? You can write as coordinate 2 6, and then the one more point is R, you can write as 5 negative 4, and then you just find the gradient like normally you find the gradient for y2 over y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? So we will take 8 minus the 6 over r minus 2 is equal to 6 minus negative 4, be careful, over 2 minus 5, and then we will solve the equation and we will answer accordingly because the question want you to express uh, the question actually want you to express r in terms of the s, right? So you have to follow the instruction of the question. So you just rearrange the equation and then express your r in terms of the s. Now some of you might use a ratio method. So just now was gradient, so this is ratio method. So if ratio method, you have to find the vector PQ. Alright, so you have to take OQ minus OP. So it's 2 minus R, okay, then 6 minus 8, okay, is equal to M. Okay, just now we find the PQ, now is actually QR, so you have to take the R minus the Q, which is S minus 2, then negative 4 minus 6. There's no over because this is a matrix or vector column. So then you just do comparison. Negative 2 equal to negative 10m, one equation. Another equation is actually you use the x side and then the y side. Okay, then you find the m is 1 over 5. Then you try to substitute into the upper part, which is 10 minus yr equal to s minus 2. Okay, so then you can solve the r. So the question asks you to express the r in terms of the s, right? So then you have to take you have to take a 10 plus 2, then minus s, then divided by 5, and you have to simplify your answer to the simplest form. All right, okay, that is how you solve the vector using the ratio method. Okay, express the vector in terms of ratio. So if you think you're not confident in ratio method, you can always use a gradient method. Okay, unless the question state you must use a ratio method, then you have no choice. Alright, so you can always choose the shortcut using the gradient for collinear vector, right? Now let's discuss another question. The straight line y equal to rx plus 4 does not intersect the curve y equal to x squared minus 4x plus 5. Find the range of values of r. So they are actually hint you there are two values of r, right? And then some more is actually range of values, so it must be in terms of the inequalities. All right, so first concept come first. The concept is the two lines does not intersect. The moment you see intersect in additional math, you do simultaneous. Intersect sub 1 into 2. Substitute the y equal to rx plus 4 into the y equal to x squared minus 4x plus 5. Substitute the easy one into the more complicated one. Okay, so now you substitute. After you substitute, you will get a quadratic equation. Then from that quadratic equation, then only you can use a discriminant. When you want to use a discriminant, b squared minus 4ac, which is actually less than 0 here. So you have to read out the a, b, and c carefully. So before you can read out your a, b, and c carefully, you must have a quadratic equation in general form. So make sure your quadratic equation is correct, okay? And then make sure the A, B, C is correct before you do the discriminant, all right? So now we are going to substitute carefully. So you see how I do. Y equal to Rx plus 4, number 1. And then the blue one is the one that I'm going to substitute with the 1. Y equal to x squared minus 4x plus 5 is number 2. Then I sub 1 into 2. So I will have Rx plus 4 equal to x squared minus 4x plus 5, right? And then you need to simplify to the general form. Make sure the A is positive. It's easier than you do negative. Always stay positive, okay? So bring everything to the right hand side so that you will get a positive quadratic equation. Then your A will be always positive. Then you will be always happy because you are having the U shape, A more than 0. U shape, happy, right? So remember, always arrange the general form so that the A is actually positive. Alright, now let's rearrange a quadratic equation in general form. Okay, so you try first before I show you the answer. Quadratic equation is x squared minus 4r and then minus r. Okay, so I will have a problem because I have 4 terms. Minus 4r minus rx, okay, plus 1 equal to 0. So what I want you to do is you always tell yourself for the general form, we always want the 3 form only, 3 terms. So you just prepare the 3 terms like this. So x squared for sure you just copy down, and the 1 you copy down, and the middle one you just put bracket siap for that. Okay, you prepare the bracket first. Okay, now you just plug in the balance that you didn't write. So it's minus 4 minus r. Okay, that is so-called general form. Understand? So the moment you want to write the general form, you always prepare 3 terms first. Okay, then the balance you put inside the bracket with the sign. And always make it plus, x squared plus, alright? So now your A is 1, your B is negative 4 minus r, and the C is 1. So your ABC is correct already. Now you can write b squared minus 4ac less than 0 because does not intersect the curve. Okay, remember, does not means less than. Okay, if equal root, equal 0. If 2 root, 2 more than 0, more than 0 lah. That's how you memorize it. Discriminant is very important, okay? So please remember the concept and the terms is not given in exam. For b squared minus 4ac less than 0 or equal to 0 or more than 0 is a concept. So please memorize the concept. Okay, so you write b squared minus 4ac less than 0, and then the b is minus 4 minus r squared. Okay, minus 4 times 1 less than 0. Now be careful when you do expansion. So if you expand using the shortcut, it's very easy. You just take negative 4 square, and then 2 times negative 4 times negative r will be positive 8r, right? The middle one will always times 2, right? Everything times. And then don't forget the last term is always positive. Okay, so it's positive r square, and then you just minus 4 and less than 0. And again, you are having the quadratic function. Alright, so you need to factorize, and then after you factorize, you have to sketch the quadratic function, and then you have to shade the region. Now let's shade the region. So the negative value is negative 6 to the left. Okay, negative 2 is bigger to the right, so you can draw the line like this. Alright, with the horizontal axis is r, no x here. Okay, don't write x. If you write x, they will minus 1 mark from you because the unknown is r. Okay, the middle part is always negative. Okay, if it's at the middle, the way to write the inequality, you should know, right, is always continuously r from negative 6. Okay, more than negative 6. R more than negative 6. Alright, and less than 2. Okay, so the range means is a values of the series of R. So it's a place whereby I shade in yellow color. Okay, the left and right is always positive, so more than 0. Okay, so we want less than 0. Less than 0 is negative. So actually when you draw the curve, you get a U shape, and the shape is like this. Okay, the path whereby the red line is below the x-axis is the one that I shade. Okay, it means it's less than 0. Okay, now we proceed to the next question, which is vector, unit vector. Okay, for this one. Okay, that's all about the quadratic function. Okay, now we go to the vector. Okay, a remote control boat would like to participate in a competition in a river. Okay, and engine which allows it to move with velocity vector of 10 meter per second. The velocity vector for the current of the river and the speed of the wind against a boat given 3I plus 7j meter per second and negative 6I minus 4j meter per second respectively. So okay, so it seems like you are having the velocity of the boat engine, which is 10 okay j meter per second, and the velocity for the current is 3I plus 7j, and the velocity okay for the wind is negative 6I minus 4j, and all these are unit vector. So do you still remember what is unit vector? Actually you can draw out the 10j is actually a vertical line which is 10 unit along the y-axis, because 1j is actually 1 unit along the y-axis, and 1I is actually 1 unit along the x-axis. Okay, if positive it will go to the right for I, and negative I will go to the left. For j, if positive j you go up and negative j you go downward, right? So this is what you learn in unit vector. So now you're asking to find the resultant vector, right? So if resultant vector, we will just add up all the vectors for the resultant vector, additional vector of the vector given. Okay, so we will just take the vector given and then we just plus. All right. Okay, this sounds like quite easy, even though the question is a bit long-winded, but it's actually simple. So after you find the resultant vector, you need to find the unit vector in the given direction. So unit vector in the given direction is actually, you have to find the magnitude first, and then you take the vector divide by the magnitude. Okay, the last question I would like to discuss is about this one. It seems like hot question. So the moment you see this question, you just convert into a graph. Draw a quadratic function like this. Okay, the one I draw in blue color. So I label the point 0, 3.5, maximum point 3.8, and then I write the function formula in terms of a, then bracket x plus p square plus q. This is called completed the square form, or you can call as vertex form of the quadratic function. And then you should know how to plug in into the equation, right? The p is actually the 3, but it must be negative, right? P is negative 3, and the q is 8, right? So for you to solve this question is just like fx equal to a, and then x minus 3 squared then plus 8. And then you substitute one of the point given. The only point given that you haven't used is 0, 3.5. Alright, you substitute into the function. Okay, the y is 3.5 and the x is 0. And you solve it, you find the a. Okay, after you got the a, actually you just plug back the a in terms of number, and you just write the quadratic function again. So that is so-called quadratic function. So this question actually they want you to know how to read the p and q and how to find the a. Remember, a always use an intercept, okay, to find the values of a by substitute, okay, y as 3.5 and x as 0 into the equation. Okay, so you write 3.5 is equal to a, then when you see x you write 0, then minus 3 square, then plus 8, and then you expand carefully, simplify carefully. I'm sure you will get the A, and the A is expected to be negative because you're having N shape, right? Clear? Okay, so this one is about the quadratic function, and it's actually quite simple, and they make it into a story. The boy throw the ball, right? So end up it will come back to the same problem, so which is a quadratic function. So okay, that's all my sharing for today. I really hope that my sharing do help you to understand the concept behind every paper 1 question. Till then, I shall see you in my next video teaching. Bye bye. Have a nice day.